The moment his eyes met hers, the noise of the city faded. The music, the laughter, the clinking of glasses, all of it dissolved into a single heartbeat that seemed to belong to her. Emma Clark had never been this close to someone like him. Men like Damian Russo didn't look at girls like her, not twice. Yet here he was, the billionaire whose name carried both awe and fear, watching her as if he could read every secret she'd tried to bury. Her pulse thudded as she adjusted the tray in her trembling hands. She was only here tonight because her rent notice had turned red and final. 3 shifts at the restaurant weren't enough to pay for her mother's medication. When her friend Lisa had said there was a high-paying one-night catering job at the Russo Corporation Gala, Emma hadn't hesitated. She didn't realize she'd be serving drinks to the man himself. Damian Russo was standing at the edge of the balcony, tall and sculpted in a black suit that looked like it had been tailored by the gods. His reputation preceded him, ruthless in business, untouchable in relationships. The tabloids called him the Ice King. One look, and Emma understood why. His features were sharp, symmetrical, almost too perfect, his expression unreadable. When she stepped closer, the cold air carried his scent, clean, masculine, like smoke and pine. It made her dizzy. She offered the tray. "Champagne, sir?" He turned his head, his gaze sliding to hers. "You're new." His voice was low, velvet layered over steel. "Yes, sir." She tried to keep her voice even. "You're shaking," she swallowed. It's just cold." He studied her for a moment longer, then took a glass. "What's your name?" "Emma." He nodded once. "Thank you, Emma." It should have ended there. She should have turned away, found another guest, and buried herself in the crowd. But the heel of her shoe caught on the carpet as she pivoted, and the tray tilted. The remaining glasses slid, spilling cold champagne over the front of his shirt. Her breath caught. "Oh no, I'm so sorry!" He stepped back, expression unreadable, as the golden liquid dripped down his tie. She reached for a napkin, her hands frantic. "I didn't mean to, Stop." The single word froze her. He took the napkin from her hand, his fingers brushing her wrist. The contact sent a sharp current through her body, an unfamiliar rush of heat and awareness. "It's fine," he said quietly. "Accidents happen." The kindness in his tone caught her off guard. His staff looked terrified even when he was silent, yet he spoke to her with something close to patience. "I'll pay for the cleaning," she blurted. He raised a brow. "I think I can manage." His gaze drifted down her face, not in a crude way, but as if he was memorizing every freckle, every line. "You're not like the others they usually send." "I'm just a fill-in," she said. "It's not my usual job." "What is your usual job?" "I'm a nurse's assistant at Mercy Hospital." She regretted saying it instantly. He didn't need her life story. His mouth curved faintly. "So you take care of people?" "I try." "Do you take care of yourself?" The question was strange, too personal, but she couldn't look away from his eyes. They were gray, not cold like she expected, but stormy, tired. "I manage." He nodded once, slipped the glass onto the tray, and turned away. The conversation was over, but her pulse wasn't. When she returned to the service hall, Lisa grabbed her arm. "Emma, you're pale." "What happened?" "Nothing. I just spilled a drink." "On who?" "Damian Russo." Lisa's eyes widened. "Are you insane? Do you know how many people have lost their jobs for less?" I said I was sorry. He wasn't angry. That man doesn't do not angry. You're lucky if you leave here without security dragging you out. Emma tried to laugh, but her stomach wouldn't unclench. The night dragged on. She worked in silence, trying to stay invisible. But every time she looked up, she felt his gaze on her. Steady, assessing, almost protective. By midnight, her shift ended. She changed into her worn coat, clutching her envelope of cash like a lifeline, and stepped into the freezing wind outside the hotel. "Emma." She turned. Damian stood near his black car, hands in his pockets, his presence commanding even in the dark. "You shouldn't walk alone at this hour." "I'll be fine. It's just a few blocks to the subway." He glanced toward the street. "You live far from here?" She hesitated. "Brooklyn." "That's not safe this late. I don't really have a choice." Something flickered across his face. Frustration, maybe. He opened the car door. "Get in." "I'll take you," she blinked. "That's not necessary." "Emma," he said, voice firmer. "I don't ask twice." She should have refused. Getting into a car with a billionaire stranger went against every instinct of survival, but the wind cut through her thin coat, and the thought of another 2-hour ride on the freezing subway made her limbs ache. She got in. The car smelled like leather and cedar. The silence inside was heavy. He watched the city lights blur past the window before saying, "You work at Mercy?" "Yes. Long hours?" "Too long. But it pays the bills. And tonight?" "It was extra money. My mom's sick. Her medication isn't cheap." His jaw tightened. "You shouldn't have to do this alone." She laughed softly. "Everyone says that until they see the bills." He looked at her then, fully, the intensity of his gaze making her heart stutter. "You're honest." "I don't have the energy to be anything else." The car slowed outside her building, a small, crumbling apartment block with flickering lights. She felt the flush of embarrassment at how different her world was from his. "Thank you for the ride," she said. He didn't move. "Emma," she turned back. "I need an assistant." "What?" "My last one quit. The job pays well. You'd be working at my office downtown. Long hours, strict expectations." Her pulse quickened. "Why me?" "You're calm under pressure. You didn't cry when you thought you'd ruined my suit, and you didn't flirt with me all night. I can't just quit my job. Think about it. I'll have my office contact you tomorrow." The next morning, she thought she'd dreamed it, but at 9:02 a.m. her phone buzzed. Mr. Russo's office calling. "He requests a meeting at 3 p.m. today. Dress professionally." By 2:30, Emma was in the lobby of the Russo Tower, heart pounding. The marble floors gleamed like glass. People in designer suits moved with purpose. She felt like a shadow in her thrift store blazer. His assistant, a tall woman named Clara, led her upstairs. "He doesn't usually hire personally," Clara said. "You must have made an impression," Emma swallowed. "Not the kind I meant to." The elevator opened onto the top floor. His office was massive floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. Damien stood near the glass, phone pressed to his ear. He ended the call when she entered. "Sit," he said. She obeyed. He studied her for a moment. "Do you understand what this job involves? Scheduling, calls, paperwork?" He almost smiled. "That's the surface. You'll travel with me, handle confidential matters, and deal with people who'd sell their mothers for a headline. Discretion is non-negotiable." She hesitated. "It sounds a lot. You'll have a driver, health coverage, and a salary 5 times what you earn now." Her breath caught. That kind of money could pay her mother's medical debt within months. "What's the catch?" His gaze softened, barely. "There isn't one. But I'm not easy to work for. I expect loyalty and silence. I can do that." Then it's settled. He stood, extending a hand. When she took it, his fingers closed around hers. Warm, strong, steady. The contact sent that same jolt through her veins. "You start tomorrow," he said. Her voice trembled. "Thank you, Mr. Russo." "Damien," he corrected. "If you work for me, you'll use my name." She nodded. "Damien." He looked at her for a long second, his thumb brushing the edge of her palm before he let go. "You'll learn quickly, Emma, just don't be afraid of me." Her breath hitched. "I'm not." He tilted his head, eyes narrowing slightly, as if he saw straight through her lie. Good. That night Emma couldn't sleep. The smell of his cologne still lingered on her skin. She told herself it was just a job, that she was doing this for her mother, that nothing else mattered. But when she closed her eyes, she saw his face, the flicker of warmth behind the cold, the way his voice softened when he said her name. She didn't know it yet, but that moment had changed everything. Emma's first day in Damien Russo's world felt like walking into a storm made of glass and gold. The air inside Russo Corporation was cold, controlled, expensive. Every surface gleamed. Every person moved like they were being watched. She followed Clara through the maze of offices until they reached the top floor. The elevator opened to silence. His door stood half open. "Go in," Clara said quietly. "He's expecting you." Inside, Damien stood beside his desk, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, the skyline burning orange behind him. He didn't look up from the file in his hand. "You're on time. Good." His voice was calm, but it carried weight. "Sit," she obeyed. He set the file aside and fixed his attention on her. "You'll handle my schedule, calls, travel arrangements, and correspondence. You'll be near me most of the time. Near you? My meetings often turn private. I need someone who listens but doesn't speak. Can you do that?" She nodded. "Yes." He studied her face for a moment longer, as if searching for hesitation. "Then we'll begin." For the next several hours, Emma learned how demanding his world truly was. He dictated at a pace she could barely keep up with. His tone was never cruel, but sharp enough to slice through distraction. Yet every time she faltered, he noticed, not with mockery, but quiet correction. "Slow down," he said once when she dropped a folder. "Breathe. Panic makes mistakes," she obeyed, surprised at the faint warmth in his tone. By the end of the day, her body ached, but her chest felt oddly light. He was difficult, yes, but not heartless. When the sun fell behind the towers, he said, "You'll accompany me tonight." Her head lifted. "To where?" "A business dinner. It's in your job description." "I thought I'd just be handling office work." "You represent me now. That means learning how I operate." At 6 sharp, she found herself in the back of his car again, wearing a simple black dress Clara had picked out. Damien sat beside her, scrolling through his phone, silent. She tried not to fidget. The closer they got to the restaurant, the more aware she became of how near he was. The warmth of his shoulder, the faint scent of his cologne, the sound of his slow breathing. He looked up at last. "You're nervous. I don't belong in places like this. Neither did I once," he said quietly. "You adapt or you get swallowed," she met his eyes. "And which did you choose?" "Both." The dinner was held in a private room. The guests were powerful. Investors, politicians, people who smiled with their teeth but not their eyes. Damien moved through them like a general among soldiers. Emma stood behind him, quiet, observant. When a woman in a silver dress slid a hand down his arm, Emma's stomach tightened unexpectedly. She told herself it was professional concern, but her heart knew better. During dessert, Damien leaned close to her ear. "Smile once in a while. People think I hired a statue," she blushed. "I don't know how to fit here." "You don't need to. Just breathe." The whisper sent a shiver down her spine. The room blurred for a second, the scent of his skin pulling her focus. She turned slightly, their faces inches apart, and the world seemed to stop. Then a waiter entered, and the spell broke. Later that night, when the car pulled into his private garage, he said, "Come upstairs. We'll review tomorrow's agenda." Her pulse jumped. "Now?" He looked at her, expression unreadable. "Do you refuse instructions?" She shook her head. No. His penthouse occupied the top 2 floors of the building. It was breathtaking. Glass walls, marble floors, a view that made her dizzy. Yet beneath the luxury there was an emptiness. No family photos, no warmth, just silence. He poured himself a drink and motioned toward the table. "Sit. Tell me why you took this job." "I needed money for my mother's medical bills." "That's honest," he said. "Most people say ambition. I don't have time for ambition." He watched her closely. "You remind me of someone I used to know." "Someone you lost?" His jaw tightened. "You ask dangerous questions." She looked down. "Sorry, don't be. It's refreshing." He took a slow sip of his drink, eyes never leaving her. "Do people often underestimate you, Emma?" "Always." "They shouldn't." He stepped closer, setting the glass aside. "You see more than you say. I notice that." His nearness pressed against her senses. She could feel the quiet strength in his presence, the pull that frightened her. "Mr. Russo, Damien," he corrected softly. "Damien. You should rest." "It's late." His voice dropped to a near whisper. "Are you ordering me, Emma?" Her breath caught. "No, I just..." He stepped back suddenly, as if regaining control. "You're right. Go home." She gathered her bag, her heartbeat unsteady. As she reached the door, his voice followed. "You did well today." She turned slightly. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Earn it again tomorrow." That became their rhythm. Days turned to weeks. She woke before dawn, followed his schedule, and learned to predict his moods before he spoke. He was sharp in meetings, measured in public, but in private moments, fragments of gentleness slipped through. A brief smile when she brought him coffee, a small pause when she laughed. Once, she caught him watching her from the window's reflection, his expression unreadable. The tension built slowly, like heat under glass. Every touch of his hand on her shoulder lingered too long. Every shared glance carried unspoken electricity. She told herself it was only admiration, a trick of proximity. But her body disagreed. One evening, she found him in the penthouse study, sitting alone in the dark, a half-empty glass beside him. The city lights painted his face in shades of silver. "You shouldn't sit in the dark," she said gently. "I prefer it that way." She hesitated. "You look tired." "Everyone looks tired when the lights are too bright." His gaze shifted toward her. "Do you think I'm cold?" She blinked. "No, I think you're careful." That drew the faintest smile. "Careful is another word for afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Losing control." His tone was almost a confession. "People mistake control for strength. It's usually just a shield." Something in his voice softened her completely. She stepped closer. "You don't have to prove anything." He looked at her then. Really looked. And the air between them thickened. For a long moment, neither moved. Then his hand rose, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Her breath hitched. His thumb lingered near her temple, his touch light but charged. "Emma," he said quietly, as if her name alone carried weight. Her heart pounded. "Yes?" he exhaled, withdrawing his hand. "Go home before I forget who I'm supposed to be." She left trembling, confused by the ache in her chest. That night, she dreamed of his voice, the way he'd said her name as though it meant something. Days later, the outside world intruded. A rival executive named Vincent Cole appeared at a press event, smirking as he greeted Damien with fake warmth. He turned to Emma afterward, offering his card. "If Mr. Russo ever works you too hard, call me. I'm not as demanding." Before she could respond, Damien's hand closed around hers, firm, possessive. "She's fine," he said. His tone left no room for argument. Cole laughed it off and walked away, but Emma saw the muscle in Damien's jaw tighten. In the car afterward, he was silent until the driver turned down the main road. Then he said, "Don't speak to men like him." She frowned. He was just being polite. He was testing boundaries. "You don't see it, but I do." "You can't control who I talk to." He turned to her then, eyes dark. "You're part of my company, my name, my reputation. Everything you do reflects on me." She swallowed. "Is that all I am to you? A reflection?" The question hung between them. He looked away first. "You wouldn't understand." "Then make me." His silence stretched too long. When he finally spoke, his voice was quieter. "The last woman who worked this close to me betrayed me, cost me everything I built. I won't let that happen again." Emma felt the anger in his words, but also the pain beneath. "I'm not her." "I know," he said, almost to himself. The tension didn't fade. It deepened. One evening, rain hammered the glass walls as they reviewed contracts. The city glowed beneath the storm, lightning tracing the skyline. Emma stood by the window, arms folded, lost in thought. "You should go home," Damien said from behind her. "I don't mind staying." He walked closer. "If you stay, I'll forget to be careful again." She turned, caught between fear and want. "Then don't be," he froze. For a second, neither breathed. Then he took one step closer, his hand lifting as if pulled by instinct. His fingers brushed her cheek, and her eyes fluttered shut. Their lips met, soft at first, then urgent, the kind of kiss that steals air. When he finally pulled back, his expression was unreadable. "This wasn't part of the deal," he said, his voice rough. "I know," she whispered. He turned away, raking a hand through his hair. "Go home, Emma, please." The next day he was distant, all business again. She tried to focus on her work, but her heart wouldn't obey. Every time he passed her desk, her pulse betrayed her. That night, she overheard him on the phone. his voice low, angry. If Vincent comes near her again, he's finished. Her chest tightened. He wasn't supposed to care, yet he did. A week later, another storm came, not of rain, but trouble. Emma returned from the hospital pharmacy to find photographers outside the building. Someone had leaked a photo of her and Damien leaving the gala together. Headlines screamed, "Billionaire's new secret assistant." Cameras flashed as she tried to reach the door. When she finally made it upstairs, Damien was waiting, phone in hand, expression thunderous. "Who took those photos?" "I don't know," she said. "You didn't speak to anyone?" "Not a word? No. Why would I?" He slammed the phone onto the desk, the sound echoing. "Because everyone wants something, Emma." The words hit harder than he intended. Her eyes stung. "You think I'd sell you out for money?" His shoulders fell slightly. "I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did." Her voice shook. "You still see her when you look at me, whoever she was." He moved closer, his tone softer. "Don't do that. Don't walk away angry." "I'm not angry," she said, turning toward the door. "I'm disappointed." She left before he could stop her. The elevator closed, leaving him standing alone, fists clenched, the first crack of regret showing in his eyes. The city felt colder the next morning. Emma hadn't slept. She kept replaying his words. Everyone wants something. That single sentence had erased weeks of fragile trust. At the hospital, she moved through her shift like a ghost. When her mother asked if she was okay, she smiled and said yes. But inside, something had splintered. By evening, she couldn't stand the silence of her apartment anymore. She gathered her things, intending to return the company ID and end whatever strange chapter she'd been part of. The elevator ride to the top floor felt longer than usual. When the doors opened, Damien was already waiting, as if he'd known she'd come. He looked like he hadn't slept either. His tie was loose, his eyes shadowed. "You weren't answering your phone." "I didn't see a reason to." He stepped closer. "I said things I shouldn't have." "You said exactly what you meant," she said quietly. "And maybe you were right. Maybe I don't belong in your world." His jaw flexed. "That's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" "That I'm used to betrayal. It's easier to expect it than to risk trust." She exhaled. "That's not living, Damien. That's hiding." He moved another step closer. "You make it sound so simple." "It's not simple, but it's worth trying." For a moment, neither spoke. Then he reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His hand brushed hers, tentative, almost afraid. "Stay," he said. "Not as my assistant, just stay." Her heart thudded. "Why?" "Because I can't seem to breathe right when you're not here." Her breath trembled. "Damien!" He closed the distance, his forehead touching hers. "I thought I built walls high enough. Then you walked in and proved how weak they were." Tears pricked her eyes. "You're not weak." He lifted her chin with gentle fingers. "If you knew how much I've fought this, you'd see that I am." She shook her head. "Then stop fighting." The space between them disappeared. His lips met hers, slow this time, deliberate, heavy with meaning. The kiss deepened, a mix of apology and need. When he finally broke away, he whispered, "Tell me to stop." She didn't. He searched her face. "Are you sure?" She nodded once, barely able to breathe. "I trust you." He exhaled as if the words had undone him. What followed wasn't rushed. He moved with care, his touch reverent. Every breath, every glance carried promise, not demand. She trembled, not from fear, but from emotion she didn't have words for. When he realized the truth of her innocence, he froze. "Emma," his voice broke slightly, "why didn't you tell me?" "I was afraid it would change how you looked at me." He brushed his thumb along her cheek. "It changes everything, but not the way you think." He was gentler after that, every motion deliberate, almost protective. When he whispered her name again, it sounded like a vow. The world narrowed to the sound of rain against the glass, and his steady heartbeat beneath her ear. Later, he held her close, silence stretching comfortably between them. For the first time, he looked at peace. "I didn't think I'd ever feel this again," he said quietly. She smiled faintly. "Feel what?" "Home." The next morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains. Emma woke to find him watching her, expression softer than she'd ever seen. "You should sleep," he murmured. "I can't. It feels like if I blink, this disappears." "It's real," he said. "For as long as you want it to be." She believed him, until noon. Clara appeared at the penthouse door, pale and tense. "Mr. Russo, you need to see this." She handed him a tablet. A headline glared. "Damien Russo's secret relationship with employee revealed. Company stocks drop overnight." The article was brutal, accusing him of favoritism and manipulation. A hidden photo accompanied it. Emma leaving his building the night before. Her chest tightened. "They know." He set the tablet down, anger flickering behind his calm. "Vincent Cole leaked this. He's been waiting for a weakness." "I'm sorry," she said. "This is my fault," he turned sharply. "Don't ever say that. This is on me. I should have protected you better." The next hours blurred. Lawyers called. Board members demanded explanations. By evening, Damien's voice was hoarse from constant defense. When he finally hung up the last call, he looked drained. "You need to rest," Emma said softly. He shook his head. "I can't. They'll want blood tomorrow. Cole's already calling for an emergency board vote." She stepped closer. "Then let them. You've done nothing wrong." "Doesn't matter," he said. "Perception is stronger than truth." Her throat tightened. "Maybe I should leave. If I'm gone, they'll stop." His head snapped up. "Don't you dare." "Damien, you think walking away fixes anything? It just proves them right." Tears welled in her eyes. "I don't want to ruin you. You're the only thing keeping me from falling apart." She wanted to believe that, but fear pressed heavier than faith. That night, when he finally fell asleep at his desk, she packed quietly. She left her badge, her keys, and a note that said only, "I believe in you. Don't let them destroy what we had." Then she slipped into the night. When Damien woke, the apartment felt hollow. The note lay on his desk, the ink slightly smudged from her tears. For a long time he just stared at it, jaw clenched. Then he called Clara. "Find her." She hesitated. "Sir, the press. I don't care." His voice was steady but broken beneath. "Find her." It took 3 days. 3 days of headlines, speculation, and sleepless nights. 3 days before Clara walked in with an address. Her old apartment near the hospital. He went himself. When Emma opened the door, she froze. He looked exhausted, but his eyes carried a determination she'd never seen. "Damien, you shouldn't be here. I don't care about should." He stepped inside. "You left without letting me fight for you." "You didn't need to." He reached into his coat pocket and set an envelope on the table. Inside was a printed statement. "I sold my controlling shares. The board can't use you against me anymore." Her eyes widened. "You gave up your company?" "I gave up control," he said quietly. "It was never freedom." "You were." Her throat tightened. "Why would you do that?" "Because I'd rather lose everything I built than lose you again." Tears spilled before she could stop them. "You can't just fix this with one grand gesture." "I know." He took a slow step closer. "But I can start with the truth. I was broken long before you walked in. You didn't ruin me, Emma. You reminded me what it means to feel." She shook her head, voice trembling. "You'll regret it." He cupped her face gently. "I've made worse choices for far less reason. This one at least feels right." Her resistance crumbled. She closed the distance, pressing her forehead to his. "You don't make this easy." "I'm not built for easy." His voice dropped to a whisper. "But I'm built for you." When he kissed her this time, it wasn't about apology or desire. It was about belonging. The storm that had defined them finally quieted. Months later, the world had moved on. The headlines faded, the gossip died. Damien started a new firm, smaller but freer. Emma finished her medical certification and joined a health foundation he funded. They worked side by side, still arguing sometimes, still learning. On a quiet spring evening, he brought her to the same balcony where they'd first met. The city glowed beneath them. "You said once that I hide," he murmured. "You were right, but not anymore." She smiled faintly. "What changed?" "You." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a simple ring. No diamonds, no flash, just gold. Her breath caught. Damien, he took her hand. You were the first person to see the man, not the money. I can't promise I'll stop being impossible, but I can promise I'll never stop trying to deserve you. She blinked back tears. Are you sure about this? Absolutely, she nodded, laughing softly. Then yes. He slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her, gentle and certain. The city lights blurred behind them, and for once, neither of them felt the need to look away. Epilogue. 1 year later, the penthouse was no longer cold. Sunlight filled it, the scent of coffee mixing with the soft laughter echoing from the kitchen. Emma stood by the counter, one hand resting on the small swell of her stomach. Damien came up behind her, arms circling her waist. Doctor says it's a girl, she said quietly. He smiled against her hair. Then she'll have your strength, and your stubbornness. He chuckled. Poor child. She turned to face him, her hand brushing his jaw. Remember the night we met? How could I forget, he said. You nearly drowned me in champagne, and you still hired me. Best mistake of my life. They laughed softly, the sound easy, unforced. As the city stretched awake beyond the glass, Emma rested her head against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heart. After everything we went through, do you ever wonder if it was meant to be? He kissed the top of her head. I don't wonder. I know, she smiled, eyes shining. And as Emma looked into Damien's eyes, she knew that sometimes the best love stories begin with the most unexpected encounters. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, please rate it 110 in the comments below and let us know what kind of romance you'd like to hear next.